Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved?
Second.
Had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Brings us to patron comments. We have no names on the patron comment list. And so unless we have someone, we'll move on. No? Okay. Brings us to the Safety Program and Emergency Response Report. Dr. Gooch, is that? Okay.
That'd be great.
My apologies for the way I sound, but I have absolutely no idea what happened, but all of a sudden I sound like this. So thanks for letting me come up here and talk about the district's safety and security program evaluation. I'm going to spend a lot of my time talking about kind of what the school district has done regarding safety and security since the 23-24 safety and security audit that we had a company come in and do that for the school district. So just a real quick refresher, this is just nothing more than the district's mission and vision, of course, a community where students belong, achieve, and are prepared to contribute and thrive in an evolving world. So again, like I stated just a minute ago, this is going to be mainly in response to the guy, Zach O'Neill with SlideSoft Technologies coming in and doing our district's comprehensive school safety audit that was performed at all of our schools, including our buildings that are not schools as well. So a couple things that I want to point out. If you remember, after he performed the safety audit, he identified areas that the school district performed very well in. They were colored blue or green, excuse me. And then there were areas that he colored yellow, and those are the specifics that things that he believed that we as a school district needed to go and address basically right off the bat. So I will say that after we identified the areas of concern, we went as a school district and committed resources to those. And I would like to celebrate a few of those celebrations. The first two celebrations are around infrastructure and personnel. The infrastructure improvement that we made as a school district was shortly after the safety audit. You all approved the school district purchasing the window security film that we now have on every single window on every single building, and that is the forced entry film that you will, and then around every entry point, every door and side window and so on, we have even more enhanced safety and security measures there as well. So the perimeter and windows, that was a big one that he pointed out as a area that he believed that we needed to address as a school district because of the vulnerabilities, and so because of that, you guys approved that. Shortly thereafter as well, you guys approved SRO number 5, who is actually in the room with us tonight. So that is another celebration as a school district. We were able to post, or as work with the city and the police department and hire Officer Maybell to be our 5th school resource officer, continuing the improvement of comprehensive coverage across all the areas. So now at this point, we have less than 1 minute response. I'll speak more about that later with a recommendation that I have, but less than 1 minute response to improve safety and security for all of our schools. So we're very grateful that we as a school district were able to add that 5th school resource officer. The next 2 celebrations, I think, there we go, are around access control and policy. Something else that he identified as a weakness for us was unregulated entry points. Basically for us, we have, you are, for a visitor or a guest to our schools, you do come to the doorbells and you ring the doorbell and you are asked and greeted by the building administrative assistant there what your business is. And in some cases, if they're just there to drop something off, they stay locked inside of a vestibule. But in some cases, they're they need to come in the second set of doorways. And there they may have real purpose or business in the school. And at that point, that's when we are asking them for their identification that we run through our security system, our Raptor system. And I will say that's, whereas that is a great resource for us to have, you're doing that face to face. And because of the face-to-face interactions, if there were ever a situation where, somebody's identification was flagged, it's kind of an uncomfortable conversation for our school secretaries to have that with a person they're, sitting right there with. So one of the things that we have now initiated as a result of you all approving us to ask the patrons for the $40 million bond project, that, a few of the projects are underway. Part of that process is going to be a remodel of all of our vestibules, and the design work is currently in process with our Hollis and Miller architectural team and Newkirk Novak construction team. We're looking at working with all of the schools to harden the barrier or really more secure lock down the front entry of all of our schools. And I'll speak a little bit more to another enhancement within our visitor management system in a little bit as well. But that is the next big, I would say, celebration, and that is really you all allowing us to put that as a priority for the community to vote for that as part of the most recent bond. And then the last one, and this was really, I will say this one was the one, really the only one that was free. However, it was also the one that quite frankly, was part of the most challenging for us to implement, and that is a locked door policy. I've been in education a long time, and a long time ago, back in the day, it was keep your doors open. You want to be inviting. You want people to come in and out of your classrooms. I remember having conversations with classroom teachers in my previous school district of, hey, let's make sure our doors stay open. We want to have this welcoming environment, and life has changed. Things have changed in our schools, and now we do the opposite. We ask our teachers to go into their classrooms and shut the door because that is the first level of security for somebody who is in the hallways. And that was something we as a school district did not have as a locked door policy for our classrooms. And when the auditor came in and brought that to our attention, I mean, he had a tremendous amount of data and stated that, when there is a situation in there, yes, the secondary locks and everything else that we teach and train our staff are all great resources. However, when they're already behind a closed, secured, locked door, you're already halfway to being more safe. And so, anyway, so we as a school district implemented a locked door policy. And so now at this point, you walk down our hallways and the doors are all shut and locked 100% of the time. And it was met with a little bit of resistance, I would say. However, I think once you really start to talk about the reasons for it and that is the first level of security, I think that was quickly adopted. So, we might find occasionally a door or so that's forgotten about or whatever, but I will say that I've had the opportunity to walk down the hallways, and I've done that with our school resource officers to check as well as administration, and we have done a really, really good job as a school district to implement a locked door policy. So again, the one that was free was a little bit of a challenge up front, but now we have that secured barrier. So moving on to, I keep hitting the wrong button here, excuse me. Just a few quick things by the numbers. These are some of them we've highlighted already, but like, for example, the shield, that is 100% of the windows and doors having the secure film. Security of the fifth school resource officer. Now all but one campus is completely covered. Something that I wanted to highlight, because we have a lot of them and we are continuing to review this annually, and this is a number that we have currently as a school district. Every single public space is covered by security cameras. As a district, we have 388 cameras district-wide, which is a tremendous amount of cameras. Only a few short years ago, we had less than 20. And then now we have 388, and there are plans this year to continue to add more. And I will say that these new ones that we will be adding are not in areas that we don't have coverage, because we do. They're just areas that we would like to have additional coverage and better angles and so on and so forth. And then again, the 100% of our interior doors, when there are students behind the door, are locked. Moving on, some of the roadblocks that we still have to deal with regarding safety and security, structural and operational friction, if you will. Even though I am incredibly excited about the fifth school resource officer, we do still have a few coverage gaps. Now, I will say we have all but one campus that has an SRO on it, and that is Prairie Branch. And I will tell you that it is proven. I did not get to sit in the seat when this happened, but I've been told that it takes our school resource officer from North Middle School to Prairie Branch 45 seconds to get there. That's in under a minute, and that's pretty remarkable. But I will say that in my opinion, there is still room for improvement there. And so we are grateful that we were able to add the fifth, but I do believe that there is still one specific location that has a little bit of an operational concern there. And I will say Officer Manaday, who does cover Prairie Branch, does a fantastic job splitting his time between that building and North Middle School. Vestibule technology. So we talked earlier about hardening the actual entrances to our school buildings. However, there is some new technology. We are going to, as the vestibules themselves continue to get remodeled and re-envisioned and so on, what we'd like to do, and I've had conversations with our Raptor company, we are going to take the little toasters that people use to drop their driver's license. They do that right there at the secretary's desk. We're going to remove that and put it in the vestibule. However, we are now fortunate that there is new technology that allows us to completely eliminate that little ID badge scanner, and there is a new technology that you can utilize and use an iPad for, and a visitor or a guest to any of our buildings would be able to walk up into our vestibule. Well, first off, ring the doorbell. Then they stay outside in the vestibule. Again, with the interaction windows and so on, we could open a window to interact with them. However, with this new technology that we will purchase once the vestibules are done and remodeled and ready to go, a person will be able to take their own driver's license, scan it through the camera, and then the camera on the back of the iPad, it will then run the system. They'll put their information into the tablet, and it'll run all of this in the background, and then it communicates wirelessly to the secretary's desk, and then they're able to once everything is cleared, invite the visitor or the guest into the office that way, and then that's where their little sticker ID is going to be. So we were originally looking at ways to take the toasters, we call them toasters, the little ID scanners, and put them out in the vestibule. However, with Raptor's improvements in their technology, we're able to do this wirelessly. And I will say that that's actually a pretty inexpensive cost. This is a $600 per school addition. So when we have our vestibules remodeled, adding a little $600 piece of technology plus an iPad, we have to purchase the iPad. So about another $500 or $600 piece of technology for a really minimal cost. We can have all of this stay completely away from anybody. You can be stuck in the vestibule, and if your driver's license is scanned and it's telling you shouldn't be in the school building, there is not the awkward interaction face to face. So that's a nice little thing that's coming, but that is currently a roadblock we have. And then the last thing is just funding and training. We've had some changes in personnel, and that's keeping some of the improvements that we have for cameras and stuff like that to happen. So I will say we have since then hired replacements that we need, and we have a new employees starting. And so what we're doing is with these new employees starting, we're bringing in companies that we contract out with for camera systems, key card systems, and so on. They're coming in, they're training our new staff, and we are going to have, you will see an improvement in cameras and key card systems and stuff throughout the school year as we have, new personnel. So moving on, kind of what's on the horizon, our pivot here. Again, I've already kind of talked about this briefly, but the improvement or the deploying a sixth school resource officer, it's just another person that's going to be able to build those relationships with our students. Digital EOP access, I work on this just kind of off and on almost nearly every day. As a school district, we have our emergency operations manuals that are at every building. We now have the ability, we were on the beta program for something called MOEOP, Missouri EOP, Emergency Operations Plan. We were in the beta group for the state to pilot this program to get it away from the giant red binder and put it on an app. And since then, Missouri EOP, or actually it's through the Center of Education Safety and Missouri School Boards Association, they have purchased a new system called K-12 Safety, and we are still in that beta group. Our emergency operations plans, all of the information in the giant red binder, I will say, has been uploaded into this new digital tool, and every staff member at every building will be trained in 2 weeks. I start training with them not next week, but the following. I have time scheduled with every single school during their professional development days after the teachers return, and it will be me giving them the instructions on how to access the district's emergency operations plan from their cell phone. And what they'll also have in addition to that, this is where the little glitch is, why I'm working on this almost every day, is we are able to assign roles and responsibilities for basically every employed position. So every teacher, every principal, every custodian, everybody has a special role in the event of an emergency. And not only will the entire EOP be accessible through this app, but depending on what your roles and responsibilities are, if you're a teacher, you can set that, and then you're able to use your quick reference guide. What is it that I need to do during an active threat? And it'll go exactly to their specific tasks that they've been assigned to themselves. So this is something I'm incredibly excited to roll out. I had a lot of work with the basically every single person who sits on the safety team from all of the buildings, and that's something I do apologize, but you guys can see it in my program evaluation in the board packet. But every member from each building came to this building for 2 days and spent 2 days with me, inputting all of this data into our EOP. So I had a tremendous amount of help from our administration in order to get this up and ready to go. And I will say that I've informed the principals when they came back last week about that this is happening, and then we've all already scheduled, like I said, every time for me to get in front of every staff next week. And then the last one, we've chatted a little bit about that, but we are currently, Dr. Allen and myself, as well as principals from every building, when we have time, is to sit down and redesign the front entry of every building, and we'll have hardened entryways at the conclusion or by this time next year. So really excited about that for a lot of reasons. So last thing is, before I'll take questions, is just going to be my recommendations. My recommendations are when we feel like we can financially support this, I think it'd be a good idea for us to continue to move forward with School Resource Officer number 6. I will tell you that School Resource Officer number 5 gets us in line with NASRO standards, the National Group for School Resource Officers. They say approximately 1,000 students for every school resource officer. We are in line with that, with 4,500 kids and 5 SROs. We are in a great place. We're in a better place than a lot of other school districts. However, I would feel a lot more comfortable knowing that we have every campus covered. So my recommendation is, at some point when we find out when it's the right time for our school district to add that 6th school resource officer. One of the things I'm also recommending is just continued support for upcoming bond issues. Even though we have a lot of ideas and things specifically for this last April's bond, I mean, we have the hardened vestibules and so on, just making sure that moving forward over the next 3 to 5 years, that we continue to review our district's goals and come back to this information to always ensure that something within our bond projects always is going to be earmarked specifically for security and safety. So, the example that we have right now is the vestibule one, but, maybe the next time whenever it's time for us to bond again, find something that we need to continue to improve on, that we would commit bond money to. And then the last one is just work, I guess, for you to hold me accountable to confirm that every year in our strategic alignment with the goals and the plans that we bring forward to you guys as part of our CSIP, just to confirm that we have some sort of priorities every year annually aligned to safety and security. So, that's whether that be a hardened vestibule, expansion of cameras, something like that. So those are my recommendations right now. You guys, I didn't want to read through the actual program evaluation that highlights the personnel and all the accomplishments and so on and so forth. You guys can do that. But anyway, that is my snippet of the program evaluation, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions for you.
Questions?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you can go.
You first.
Me first? Oh, I get to go first.
When you talk about the safety committee, who represents? Is someone from every building, or because I was looking at Sny Valley, I know that we had to have a separate audit done on that one, and I was trying to figure out where that school is represented.
Yeah, that's a
as
good
well
point.
as-
They are not represented within the specific safety committee. Mr. Gene Grasso, being as the high school rep, speaks specifically for them, but I do think that's a really good thing to have that conversation with Mr. Gene Grasso and Dr. Smith, and maybe and see if somebody from Sny Valley would be willing to serve on it. It's a committee that gets together. Typically, it's about quarterly. There might be occasional where we need to bring in a little bit more frequent, but I do like that idea, and I'll have that discussion with both of them tomorrow to see if they would like to bring someone from that school who spends more time there. I do know that it is. It's high school staff, but I do think it's a good idea for somebody outside of Mr. G to be represented there. So I'll bring that up with him.
Okay, my other question was, and this is based off of the assessment that was done in September, I see where most of these items were things that we had asked you to address in all buildings, but once again, Sny Valley, if you look at the recommendations, I didn't see any of those listed. And since that's in it's in a strip mall, I was just curious about.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go back and double check. I know that we originally had a conversation with, we were able to put film on those windows, but as far as doing anything else outside of that, with us not being the owner of the building, it's tough for us to be able to modify and do a lot of modifications to that specific space since it's not ours. But what I'll need to do is make sure that I go back and review the Sny Valley stuff to make sure that everything that we are allowed to modify or change there can happen. The one we have expanded it. I know that there was an expansion of space there, but as far as addressing every single concern from that specific location, you are correct. I will review that and work with both of the educators that work out of that building as well as the high school administration. So I do apologize for that. I did not. I will say that I just kind of that one went out of my mind.
That's okay. It was just one of the things.
No, that's a great point.
Like slides 7 through 10 on that report.
Yep, you got it.
Locked door policy, I love that it's fully implemented. I think that's always a tough change at first, but having all those doors locked is definitely the recommendation. So I really appreciate that. With our SROs, I know that obviously we can't staff every building. With the SROs we do have, do they get pulled for other needs? I think the funding is probably split between the city and the school district. And is there any gap coverage due to that, or is that something that we're able to sustain to ensure that the SROs are being able to do the work in the schools?
So that's a good question. I will say that there are times where they have been pulled specific to assist if there is, and I'm going to not say it the right way, but if there is a support of a patrol officer, if someone who's on patrol is actively, engaging with an individual out on the road, a fight or whatever, then they can call a distress, and the SROs would then go and help out in that situation. So I have had recent conversations as recent as just last week with the chief, and just making sure that we are able to kind of protect the time that we have them in our buildings. Again, there is time that they get pulled. I think it all depends on, I mean, it could depend on the week. There could be a month where they aren't, and then there could be times where they are. I'm working with the chief of police and the SRO's sergeant to really try to limit that as little as possible. We have, over the last few years, the way that, as we have expanded from 1 to 3 to 5 now, the amount of resources and money that we put towards the salaries of them gives us a little bit more teeth, if you will, to kind of control that. And so without saying a whole lot, I would say that I have had some of those dialogues with both the sergeant and the chief of police just to ensure that we are, when there is a need, that there's a way to backfill it as well, but to limit how much they're taking. If, for example, if there was a situation where both Officer Pereira and Officer Maybell needed to leave the high school for something, then are we allowed, and can we, yes, to have Officer King and Officer Imes and kind of do a little bit of a rotational, check in on those buildings to make sure that there is enough coverage there? Yes, and they've done that before. Like if we have a situation in a building and or close to a building and somebody has to leave, another school resource officer can go and support that specific building. There have been situations where the building, I don't want to call them a building SRO because they're not really specific like that, but when you're housed out of one, it kind of feels like your building, right? And so when one of them has been pulled for something, they've done a real good job of kind of backfilling each other and supporting each other's schools. So if King gets pulled for something and there's a situation at South Middle School, Officer Maybell, Officer Pereira, Officer Imes, they've done a good job of coming there to support whatever situation's happening at South Middle School. I mean, this is an example, but that is a very relevant and very timely discussion that I've had recently with our police department, just to ensure that our coverage is what I believe that it should be. I can't prove this. This is just me making this statistic up, but I would believe that at any given moment we have as many people under our roofs, if you will, than there are still in Grain Valley during a regular day. When people leave and go to work of a town of 16,000 people, when you can say that we still have 6,000 people underneath our roofs, I feel like it's important that those 6,000 people have the protection that they need. And so if they get pulled for whatever reason that I don't necessarily agree with, I make my opinion known.
Good, yeah, because then that puts in the barrier of doing the full job of the SRO.
Correct,
if
that we
they,
pay for.
Yeah, so all those things that you, like with the student engagement and those types of things, like if it's just only response, then that inhibits the goals of the program. So
Correct.
thank you for working
Yeah.
on that. Appreciate it.
It's your question was so timely because this was I had this dialogue with the chief Friday.
Anything else? I've got just one comment, I think. When I'm looking at programs like this, I'm looking at it from 3 different angles: people, process, and technology. And you've covered all of that here, and you've done an excellent job maturing this program. The thing that sort of runs through all that binds it together is culture. And that's where I'm still a little concerned that there may be room to really grow. I know with the locked door policy, that's really helping to drive that safety and security culture through the building. But I want to ensure that it's not just that specific locked door policy, that teachers and administrators are really thinking about security throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that I'm not going to ask you to address it right now, but something to think about as you're continuing to mature this program.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Dr. Gooch.
Thanks.
Okay, the summer school report. This is a fun topic, not...
It is a fun topic. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gump. She's got a report for you as well as some guests tonight. So take it away, Dr. Gump.
You gonna drive for me?
No, that's great. Thank you. I am excited to talk to you about our summer school report this evening. I also want to give a shout out to a few people in the room tonight because this program would not be where it is if it wasn't for them. And so I am going to ask them to stand so you can connect the name and the face here. But with us tonight, we do have Mr. Brett Schauberg serving as the lead at Prairie Branch this past summer. Miss Tiffany Heller, who's not with us this evening, largely probably because of this great experience she had, she's accepted a position as a principal in another school district. We're very happy for her. But she was with Mr. Schauberg this summer. Miss Nancy Leeser, who is enjoying her last couple of weeks and on a very deserved family vacation right now, couldn't join us, but she was our lead out at Stony Point this summer. And accompanying her was Miss Brianna Nicholson, who joined her as the assistant principal out at Stony Point for the summer session. Mr. Ryan Cox with us tonight stepped up into our lead position, serving our secondary program. And joining him this summer was Miss Kristen Miller. And so they rounded out our secondary team at South Middle School. So you'll see up here, we did have some goals for this summer, just continuing to update curriculum, engaging relevant experiences, making sure that everything was still fresh and up to date. We brought a partnership with Bike Walk KC for our elementary program that I'll share a few things with, but I think it was largely successful this summer. We wanted to see improved attendance in middle and elementary. We wanted to expand course offerings for students and, of course, fully staff and retain our high-quality staff for this program. Our teachers are always working to bring the summer themes to life with engaging activities and experiences, so we try to provide this time for them. With the Bike Walk KC, it was a huge success. Our novice bike riders even worked their way to riding a bike independently. Students learned communication skills for communicating with motor vehicles while they were out on the road. They even had the opportunity to showcase their skills on some challenging courses throughout the program. We also caused a run on Facebook Marketplace with bikes for sale because parents were being ordered to run out and buy bikes after this program. So I think we were getting kids out into the fresh air and riding bikes, so what's not to like about that? We also wanted to offer in-person elective classes for high school, and this is something that we haven't done for the past few summers, so we attempted that this summer as well. Looking at our total enrollment for this summer, you'll see 1425 was our total enrollment for 2026. 391 were virtual students, which is down 64 from last year. Let's see. One thing that we really focused on with our virtual classes, and you'll see this come up again in our virtual enrollment, was targeting our struggling students and dropping them before they are actually failing, and that's impacting their GPA. Last year, we had a higher number of students who enrolled in that program, but not everybody learns best by doing virtual schooling, and we know that. And so our secondary team worked diligently to partner with families and with students and trying to encourage them and get them online, get them engaged, staying with enrollment, and then encouraging them when it wasn't going to be possible that maybe we needed to drop this class because this wasn't the right time for us. While we saw an overall decrease in summer enrollment, it was almost perfectly matched with the staffing that we had. So that allowed us to have certified high-quality teachers available to teach all of our classes without any kind of problematic class sizes. While our enrollment was down, you can see that our attendance was strong. Our middle school noted peak attendance on June 1st with a slow downward trend over the 4-week period due to travel, camps, and other activities that they had. But they had a strong cohort of 112 students that had really strong daily attendance. And in our past, our elementary program had found singular days throughout the summer that had high absences, but this summer they actually found strong attendance just systematically, like throughout the program. And they didn't see a typical dip with the 3-day weekend like the holiday of June 19th. That didn't happen this summer like in past summers. Stony Point overall had an attendance jump of more than 4% from last year, and Prairie Branch almost 2%, while middle school was about the same in terms of attendance as last year. We had 15 students attend in-person elective classes, earning a total of 18 semesters of credit. And as I mentioned earlier, our secondary leadership team worked diligently with students and families to encourage active participation and completion of coursework for their virtual classes, as we don't want to see these students enroll in the courses only to not complete or to fail the course. We want to highlight that 168 credits were recovered this summer. So without this opportunity, we would have started significantly behind for the school year. Again, we saw a decline with our virtual enrollment, but again, we are working really hard to make sure that that is a good fit for all of our students.
Can I ask a question there?
Yeah, please.
So with virtual learning, what platform are we using to deliver that material?
Yeah, so we partner with Launch, which is out of Springfield Public Schools.
Okay, so that's the only method currently that we use to
It
reach
is.
kiddos? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. This is only the second year that we have had this counseling position. You'll probably remember that we added that last summer, but if you take a look at some of the numbers on the screen in front of you, I think we all can see that it was needed, and we definitely need to have that. So Miss Kara Long served as our counselor, and Miss Amanda Sherman served when she was out for a period of time, but we were happy to have them, and I believe they were in every single campus regularly over the summer. Parent and family feedback. We were up over 6% from last year, with 99.3% of families sharing that students were excited to go to Summer SOAR daily. And overall, I'm pleased with this year's SOAR program. We increased 4.7% from last year, with 100% of respondents feeling pleased with the Summer SOAR program. I did note some feedback comments that we received for you. One quote that I pulled out: "We're so appreciative of all that you do. Thank you so much. One thing that would be helpful: copies of lunch schedules and special schedules, if possible." Another comment that I just think speaks to a lot of things that this team did this summer. We had someone say, "Not relevant to the question, but I can't say thank you enough for how friendly and welcoming everyone was. Transitions are hard in our household, so I had been preparing for kindergarten for months as my son was against it. The SRO gave him a big hello on the first day, which made him feel special. When he started to panic, his teacher swooped in with a hello. Absolutely every day people helped with the drop-off line, and people other than his teacher could call him by name. He's excited to come back. Thank you." These are just some of the comments that we heard this summer in our survey from families. Summer SOAR staff members provided a safe and fun environment, 100%. I do want to just highlight that this year Dr. Gooch met in advance with our SROs prior to the start of the program, and they developed a rotation schedule for coverage for SROs for the summer. It ensured that we had SROs there for arrival, dismissal, lunch, and of course there were multiple opportunities, as you just heard in our last comment, for them to build relationships with students and families just by being, present and around the buildings. And I think that was felt throughout the summer. I know that I saw him frequently with that bike program, directing traffic and helping kids with the bikes as well. Up 4% to now 100%. I would consider sending my child to Summer SOAR next year. And then we also collected some staff feedback. And so I did note in the staff feedback and some of the comments, this is representative of everyone. So we had support staff that took this survey, as well as substitutes who subbed over the summer. So maybe certified teachers that just filled in for a couple of days. So state your level of agreement with the following statements. So curriculum being provided, supplies, user-friendly, curriculum engaging students. Agree and strongly agree were definitely highlighted marks. Here are some of the comments that I saw in response to this when it wasn't an agree was from staff members who said, I wish I would have thought through bringing more things for my own classroom. Like, I forgot the glue sticks and I didn't have glue sticks on the day that I needed them, things like that. Admin and staff feedback. I pulled some themes that just kind of came out of all of the comments and feedback here. But again, it's just a lead to those that are here tonight. Strong administrative leadership. They felt highly supported, which I think is a great thing. The engaging and flexible curriculum. Teachers appreciated the freedom to offer creative hands-on learning that kept students motivated and focused throughout. Collaborative team culture. There was peer support, effective program structure, flexible class options, the well-organized credit recovery slots that our secondary team organized were some of the comments that were lifted up there. Other comments or quotes that I pulled, everything went really well for the summer. We have amazing students at Green Valley. I love getting to know kids that I wouldn't normally see in my classroom in the fall. Another wish from the staff, support in finding field trips to match the class theme to add more activity to the class as we start thinking about goals and suggestions for next year. So our next steps, thinking about 2027 and beyond, providing targeted PD for summer school leaders to establish and maintain consistent, effective family communication protocols throughout the duration, maybe making sure that we have something in place with those lunch menus that parents are asking for weekly, what's drop off and pick up look like, just consistent that they know they can see in their inbox for what to expect. Continue to attract staff by providing additional incentives like we've been doing, giving a little bit of prep time when we can. Possibly introducing or reinstating interactive themed classes, and then evaluating the high school in-person elective classes that we brought back this year, but didn't necessarily have a ton of participations. Our families expressed appreciation for strong communication, but we know they're looking for those consistent updates. We want to make sure that we can offer that to them. Our middle school team surveyed the middle school students, and they actually made suggestions for future programming with interactive homeroom activities. They actually wanted to reinstate some past popular programs like Shark Tank, and considering some new themes that they threw out like sports. So these are things that our team can think about. Our summer school team would also like to take a look at the in-person elective classes that I mentioned and decide if we think that's a good fit for the program in future years. We look forward to next year.
Questions?
How many total staff does it take for this throughout the summer, roughly? I just saw the staff feedback, I think it was about 30 or so.
Dr. Allen, I'm not 100% sure on that question. Do you have an idea?
I mean, like, is it 50? Is it 150? I'm
You know
just
how
trying
many
to see
staff you
what.
guys each have by chance?
How many? Okay. So maybe you got the majority of staff for feedback is what it sounds like, maybe?
We usually only capture a certain portion. In addition to our regular summer school program, we also do extended school year or ESY, which is for our special education students. And the survey gets sent to them as well. And so like what percentage of our total staff this is, 30 staff members, I still think you're only looking at about a third. Does that sound about right?
I have it pulled up right now, and it looks like I received 50 responses, but that doesn't mean they answered every question. They also could have picked and choose or not wrote comments as well.
You have pretty good participation in staffing? Like, is it difficult to staff this? Is there high turnover because it's summer? What are some needs?
I'll try to answer this, but please chime in if you have some historical insight here. It is a challenge, and that's not something necessarily that everybody is looking to do. Oftentimes, we do fill with our just graduated new teachers that are actually going to teach for us in the fall, and so they start with us in the summer. But it is something I feel like these guys are working to fill those positions until almost the last minute.
Yeah, I'd say it's about a half. It's a split in half. Half are like a core group we get every single summer and love it, and they're kind of our consistent people. And then the other half, like I said, this team and any feelers they can put out to work to recruit.
Well, thank you all so much. That's, yeah, you're taking your summer to do good things, so thank you all.
Yeah, and this team kicks off in about January, and they start planning, and they plan January all the way up till the first day of summer school, so it's a big job.
I have a question on attendance, like just talking about like the percentages and where it's at. What are our goals for attendance? Because I don't know if summer school is funded the same way or those types of things, because like simple in my mind, I'm like, well, I'd rather them miss summer school than regular school. So just like, what are the goals for attendance? Because yes, if they're going to sign up and we're going to staff and we're going to fund it, we want the kids to be there. But just like in general, what are the goals for attendance? I'm just curious.
I mean, it is accurate that the funding we receive would be based on attendance. And so if we would staff for that and that would go really low, then we wouldn't be getting, the funding that we need. But that's not been a huge concern for us, definitely not last year. And from what I see in the years past, do you have anything historical you'd offer differently, Dr. Allen?
Yeah, I definitely think it's less consistent than the regular school year by far, as you would expect it. And a lot of families sign up saying we can only commit to 3 out of the 4 weeks, and we expect that. But when you've done it year over year, and we have a lot of overlap, so our administration that does summer school, they are assistant for 2 years and then lead for 2 years, so they get 4 years of solid back-to-back experience. Those patterns develop, and I think they know staffing-wise what to account for about how many kids they see coming on an average day. So we rarely end up in a situation where we're way over or understaffed, so we just know that. But, every year it's a little different. Like this year, enrollment's slightly down, but our attendance was up.
Right.
So the people who signed up committed. And so that fluctuates, but I rely heavily on this team for their experience year over year to know the right number of teachers. We try to push enrollment really early, even though we have people come in May to enroll. We try to push it early so we get just the right number of teachers, but I think they do a marvelous job predicting.
Yeah. And then I would be curious, like attendance-wise, daily attendance, sure, but do most kiddos complete summer school? Like, do they start and then stop coming after the first week or anything like that?
From the feedback, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that starting and kind of stopping, you see more at the secondary level than you do at elementary. Some of the feedback from our administrators at elementary might be that, a family is going to take a specific vacation or they're
Right.
going to be gone, and so you know that, but then they return, or they've alerted us that I'm going to miss the entire last week, but I'll be here, committed for the first 3 weeks. What I see in some feedback notes from Mr. Cox is that we start out, kind of high and then we drop, but we don't necessarily drop and come back and drop and come back. We're just kind of done. Like we thought we were going to do it and now we're not.
Yeah. And then at the secondary level, I think high school only, like they can probably only miss a certain number of days, which if it's only virtual and it's credit recovery, I guess in-person classes would be the ones that if they miss 2 days, then they're done. Like, but is that only at high school? That's not for middle school or elementary?
Correct.
Just because there's credit being earned? Okay. Thank you.
In the past, one issue that we've always discussed was transportation and potentially providing transportation. I haven't heard anything about that in a while. Is that still something we're even considering? Is the juice worth the squeeze on that?
We consider it every year. We get feedback every year from parents. We would have a much larger number of students participate if we provided transportation, hands down. Finding the staffing, it would be really difficult. We would not end up with high-quality educators in there. We would have to find, I would consider substitutes at that point in order to do that, on top of the financial constraints and finding drivers and things like that. That would be our major concern.
Yeah, we would still have to run every route in order to encompass every single house in the school district. So it would require a large portion of our transportation department in order to get that done as well. So we'd have to commit to keeping them, staffed throughout that entire month as well. So it'd be really a big expense.
A lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same expense,
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, So for board policies, have a good night. For board policies, I don't know that we want to read through all of these in the meeting and debate them, but I know there were a few that we probably wanted to talk about. So, let's see here. Let me do it this way. Are there any policies that anyone wants to specifically call out and discuss?
HAHH2, please.
Any others that we want to discuss? We'll all read them. We're not voting on them. This is just discussion. So any others that we have concerns about? Dr. Allen, any that you want to pull out other than those two?
No, I'll just point out, I did sort of a one-pager trying to summarize, that way you could dig in if it was something that, spoke to you or your area of expertise, and then tried to highlight in blue any changes that were being proposed. And Dr. Taylor brought up 2 policies which we are currently have new language under review that we've not received back yet. So obviously we will have those for you at the August meeting. So those are sort of in transit, but we can certainly discuss them this evening.
Just for my edification, the first one, the board member conflict, it was last reviewed last year, so is it coming up again for some reason, just for my?
Yeah, great question. So it's part of the board policy requires us to approve it every other year. We add it to August every single year, then we're not trying to keep track of odd and even years.
Okay, so let's start with HA, please. Dr. Taylor, do you want to kick us off? Yes, no? I thought you wanted to talk about this one.
I'm going to let Dr. Allen approach it, and then we're going to see where it goes.
Sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So HA and HH policies center around our meet and confer and collective bargaining. So it is our group that we bring before you every single year, which basically is our salary and benefits committee. And that is a group that meets with myself, Dr. Gooch, sometimes Crystal Frederick as well, to try to make recommendations to make a better work environment for all of our certified staff. Our meet and confer process, I feel like, has worked well over the years. They've had wonderful input. We've made lots of changes due to the input given by that group. These policies have a short paragraph at the beginning that speak to our current way that we do things, and we plan to keep that. Beyond that, it talks specifically about collective bargaining, which is not something that we currently do within our district. We are a district who dedicates over 80% of our budget towards salaries, which is phenomenal and really hard to top. And we try to prioritize salaries at all costs and plan whatever portion of our budget or whatever our budget looks like year over year to maintain that 80% or higher portion going towards salaries. So while we haven't utilized collective bargaining at any particular year, our teacher unions or a collective group of teachers could decide they want to enact collective bargaining, as is their right by state law. These procedures would allow us a process for that. The catch is one of them is 5+ pages, another one's 4+ pages. As you know, in board policy language, that is a lot to kind of sift through, if you will. And so both myself and kind of working with Dr. Taylor, we found some other language that I'm going to call it simplifies, removes some of the minutia of how an envelope needs labeled, some of the very specific details that are within here, but keeping the spirit of the policy. And since it was such a major rewrite, if you will, reducing it from 4 or 5 or 6 pages down to 2 pages, MSBA is just still reviewing it and we haven't received the feedback yet. So when we get that feedback, I will have that for you to review prior to our next meeting, and we can dive into the rewrite, if you will, and get feedback on that.
So I'll just clarify, the conversation is that if we were going to rescind both of those, it eliminated some things. And by law, Missouri Constitution requires collective bargaining. So I just want to make sure that we are covering ourselves if we rescinded that. No, we've never had to do X, Y, and Z, but we know the state of education currently in funding. And if that were to happen, I needed to make sure that our teachers and other employees were covered correctly without just a small paragraph or eliminating HH2. So I've sent my ideas to Dr. Allen. She's put them into some policy, and we're waiting to hear back from that.
So your original intent was to rescind the policies. That is no longer your intent. It's simply to simplify the policy.
So my original intention was to rescind what's there. I think it's too cumbersome and lengthy for us, for a group to utilize. I think it makes a part-time job for a group to try to work through that and do that. I did want to propose some additional language. I just wanted some partnership with the board on what that language looked like, since it's your policy. And, that just takes time to research and gather and give suggestions. And so as Dr. Taylor alluded to, she found in the way that I had tried to make it more succinct that it was missing some parts that she thought were essential, so she added those, and we just kind of went back and forth till we found, hey, I think this carries all of the most important parts that would need to be in there, but reads in a simpler way that anyone could read it and understand the process. But we obviously want to run that by legal and get feedback.
Yeah, comment?
So is the recommendation to rescind them or to change them?
It'll end up being a change. It looks like a rescind because you're removing all of the current language and replacing it all.
Okay.
But not to totally get rid of the policies. It's a complete rewrite, I would say.
So I think where I was hung up is we don't have anything right now to react to. We're still waiting on
Correct.
approval, MSBA review.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah, because we definitely want to make sure that access for teachers are still there. Like, I understand how we practice now. And then with collective bargaining, it wouldn't just be salary. There's a lot of other things that could be put
Absolutely.
into place there that could, protected plan time, or, there's a lot of different things with salary and benefits that could be reviewed through that. So I know the district has the best of intentions to fairly compensate our employees, but we still want to make sure that there's access for them to advocate.
And I would say, if a district, because there's only about 30% of the districts that carry both of these, but if you were to remove both, that doesn't remove a teacher's right to initiate collective bargaining. You just don't have a process for it. So now you have to work with that group to create the process before you start collective bargaining. So it's not a bad idea to have a framework in place should the time occur. If this isn't the school board and I'm not the superintendent and things
Right.
are going a different direction now they've got a process to follow.
any other questions? Okay, so last chance, any questions on any of the other policies?
Did we cover HH2 as well in this discussion?
Yeah.
That is the one. I was on HH.
Okay. So I think, yeah, okay. That takes us to annual training, and Dr. Allen?
So once a year, the board is required to participate in a 60-minute training. The exact title is Protecting Students from Sexual Misconduct. This is a video that we will watch together and answer questions. So I propose that we move to a different space so that we can better watch a TV and take quizzes together. So we'll just move locations at this point.
So unless something has changed, we have to do this we are required to do this every year. We are currently missing 2 board members. Could you please, April, work with them to make sure that they stay on them and make sure that they get it done? It's easy to forget, and then you're at the last second, so thank you. I appreciate that. We will move to wherever you said. The executive room. Okay. No.
Yeah, we're not coming back in here, but we're not adjourning yet because it still has to be open meeting. Like,